In today's class, I'm going to be teaching you how to make a long pencil skirt that is perfectly fitted. And I'm going to, in addition to that, teach you how to drape a false wrapper on an Ankara skirt with a back slit. And I'm using the butt contouring method. I'm going to show you how you can make your butt look full, even if you're not wearing hip pad or anything like that. This class is going to be loaded, so you don't want to miss or skip any part of it. So I'll go ahead and rule my start line, okay? And then I'll mark my waist to hip and I'll mark my waist to knee, okay? If you didn't measure your customer's waist to knee, you can use between 22 to 25, depending on how tall your customer is. And then you also mark your waist to full skirt length. Then you mark your waist divided by 4, your waist circumference divided by 4. And before you mark your hip, we're going to do the subtraction method here. Now, for my hip is 42, so we're going to use it for 2 as a sample. For your front hip, you're going to do 42 divided by 2, not divided by 4. 42 divided by 2 minus 1. Then for your back hip, you're going to do 42 divided by 2 plus 1. Okay, 1 inch is okay. You can use 1.5 inch if the person have a very large hips, but 1 inch is quite standard. So what I got for the front, I got 20. For the back, I got 22. Okay, if you add the both of them, you're going to get 42. Then to get what I will now use, I will now do that 20 divided by 2, which will now give me 10. And then for the back, I will do 2 divided by 2, which will now give me 11. If you didn't understand it, just rewind to this place, watch it again, and then implement using your own hip measurement. Okay, so for those, this is the front. So what I'm going to mark for the front is 10 inches. Okay, then on the waistline, I marked my waist divided by 4 plus my dart intake, which is 1 inch, and then I came in by 4 inches, which is my nipple to nipple measurement. Okay, 4 inches, and then the for the darts, and then the width is 6 inches long. So this dart is 6 inches long, but I came in by 4 inches, and then I marked half inch, sorry, on both sides of that dart leg. Okay, that's how I formed my dart, and then I replaced that with 1 inch, and I connected that 1 inch I used to replace my dart back to my hip line. Okay, my hip, which is the front hip of 10 inches for the size 42. You understand that? Now for the new, I will take out 1.5 inch from what I have on the hip line, okay, and then I'll connect it to form a slanted line. And then on whatever I have on that new, I will take out 1 inch on the hemline. Okay, I'm sorry you cannot see my hemline, but I took out 1 inch from what I have from that new to form the slant all the way to my hemline. Then I connected my actual waist to my hip, just in case I don't want to use the darts. And for this skirt, I didn't use the dart. It's a dartless skirt. I connected it to my hip, eliminating that dart that I added. Now for the back, the first thing I will mark is the start line, and then I'll go ahead and mark the zip allowance. Though we'll be contouring this zip allowance part, but you first of all mark 1.5 inch or 1 inch as a guide. I'm using 1.5 inch because I'm sewing Ankara. The half inch is for the lining, for turning the lining over to the front, and then attaching the lining to the fabric, sorry, and then the 1 inch is going to be the actual zip allowance. So that's 1.5 inch. Okay, but if you're not using lining, you can mark 1 inch. Okay, then I went ahead and marked my waist to hip, my waist circumference divided by 4, and then I also marked my waist to hip. Okay, and I also marked my waist to knee, just the way we did for the front. We're marking our waist to knee. Okay, and then I'm going to connect it a straight rule to form my horizontal lines. I also marked my waist to hemline. Okay, please don't forget to mark your waist to hemline. And then on my waistline, I marked my nipple to nipple divided by 4, which is 4 divided by 2, sorry, which is 4 inches, and I came down by 6 inches. Sorry, for the front I came down by 5 inches, not 6 inches, and then for the back I came down by 6 inches. Okay, then on the waistline, I also added back the 1 inch I took out for my dart. Then for the back, remember that we divided our hip by 2 inches instead of 4, and then what we got from our formula for the back is 11. Okay, so I have 10 for the hip circumference in front and 11 for the hip circumference at the back. And then I'll take out 1.5 inch from that 11 to mark my new circumference, as you can see. And then I'll take out 1 inch from that from what I have on my nail to form my hem circumference. You get that? And now listen to this, pay attention to this. From my hem, I took out 1 inch and I'm going to connect it to my hip. We're doing the contouring now. I took out 1 inch from the hem and I'm connecting it to the hip. And then I took out 1/2 inch from the waist. If you watched my previous video when I was forming the bustier, how to make a bustier that stands, you see that I took out 1 inch to eliminate bitty bulge. Okay, that's also the half inch to eliminate bitty bulge. That's also the 1/2 inch I'm taking out here and the waist. And then I'm going to remeasure to get 2 inches for my zip allowance. Okay, so I'm remeasuring all these things to get 2 inches. So this way I have exactly 2 inches for my zipper allowance. So if you didn't understand what I said, please go back, watch it again so that you understand. And then on the hip line, I'm going to open it up and I will add an extra paper to it. Okay, pay attention to this. I'm going to tape this down. I'm using a paper tape to tape it down so that it doesn't lose its shape. Okay, then I'm going to measure 1 inch. I'll open up that. This is slash and spread now, so I'm spreading it by 1 inch. Okay, 1 inch is okay for any size, but if your customer is really like has a lot, like has a very big butt, you can increase it by 1.3 or 1.5 inch. Okay, so this way we have created fullness for the hips, for the butt to sit in and have that fullness. Okay, so with this, I'm done with the pattern drafting. I'm just going to cut it out in the fabric and add my sewing allowance to it. I've already added zipper allowance. See, if you enjoyed this tutorial up to this point, please give this tutorial a thumbs up so that YouTube would push it out to other fashion designers to see and learn from it. Also, if you have not subscribed to this channel, you are seeing us for the first time, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. We post sewing tutorial every single week. Our aim is to make sure that you're a professional fashion designer. Okay, so as you're cutting out your pattern paper on your fabric, make sure that you are notching. You see the way I'm notching the lines? This way it will be easy for me to reconnect what I am cutting out. Okay, now I'm not going to be using the dart, so I'm taking out 1 inch from the waistline. I'm taking out this 1 inch from the waistline, so I've removed the darts. I'm not going to be putting in any darts for this particular skirt. You understand that? Now I'm cutting out, that's for the front. Now I'm cutting out for the back also. I'm cutting out the clothes on the lining now. So go ahead and iron your lining before you cut. Okay, don't cut it the way I'm doing. Iron your lining to be very flat, then you cut out. And then because I don't want my lining to be poking out, I'm going to take out 1 inch from my lining. This length of Ankara is my full length, so if this is not your full length, if your Ankara is not your full length, go ahead and add to the Ankara before you go ahead and cut. Okay, now for the false wrapper, I'm teaching you how to draft it. I'm going to bring in a full pattern paper. I'll face it horizontally, and then I came down by 5 inches, and then I started to mark slanted lines towards that 5-inch mark that I came down by. And then I'm now forming the wrapper drapes the way I want it to be. So go ahead and form the drape however you want it to be. The one on the thumbnail is not as full as mine. I wanted mine to be very full to cover my big stomach. Okay. All right, so you can consider making this style if you have a big stomach like mine. All right, so I'm trying to form the shape that I want the wrapper to have. You see that now I'm just forming the shape with my curved ruler and my straight ruler. In that way it will give the shape that I want it to have. So just watch what I'm doing closely and do it, and you get the same result. It's actually very simple to do. Okay, so I'm cutting out the excess. You can also do this with your fabric. This thing I'm doing with pattern paper, but I prefer to do it with pattern paper because it saves me fabric and is easier to work with. Okay, so I'm adding extra pattern paper so that I can get the full length of my skirts. Okay, because the first wrapper that I'm draping is going to cover the full length of my skirt. You get that now? All right, so I place the pattern paper on the main fabric facing the side I want it to face, and I'm cutting it out, leaving allowance for, because I'm going to line the first wrapper also. If you want to drape this any style you want to drape it is okay. So just go ahead, drape it the style you want. Use your pattern paper if you want to do my style, which I advise, okay, so that you don't waste your fabric, and then drape on it. Or another way you can do it is to finish making the dress. When you finish making the dress, then you drape your wrapper the way you want it to fall, and then you open up the side and rejoin the side. That way you are done also. Okay, you see that? So, but this is the style I like to use. I just like to sew and know that I'm done sewing and all of that. So this is me cutting out the lining for the false wrapper, and then I'm also going to take out 1 inch from the hem of the false wrapper so that the lining will not be coming out when I'm done sewing. You see that? So whenever you are sewing with lining, make sure that the lining is shorter than the main fabric by at least ½ inch. Okay, in our next video I'm going to be showing you how to piece this together to form our skirt. And remember that I'm creating a playlist for how to make that dress that is already on the thumbnail, and I have about 3 videos already on the playlist, so go check it out and tell me what you think about it. See you in the next one. Bye.